this is my braised beef Shin Ragu. First thing to do is to get all of the meat seared off. So olive oil into a hot pan, quite a healthy amount. If it smokes, don't be scared of it. That just means the temperature is right. Get your beef shin, season healthily, and then get that in there to sear. So what you want to do is just wait for like a lovely deep brown crust to form on the edge of that beef. It's important just to keep it in there for like a couple of minutes. If you try and move it straight away in a cast iron pan, it will stick. You want to wait for it to just release itself off of that surface. So it's just like important to get a nice color all the way around the beef. So you've got like each side is done, flip it over, put it on its side, just get that color like the whole way around it. And then once that is done, this doesn't need to cook the whole way through because it's going to cook for hours later. So you can take this out and just leave it to rest there for a bit. And now basically, once the meat is seared, the pan doesn't need to be that hot anymore. So you can take that temperature down a little bit, and we're going to deglaze it with some stock red wine and some passata as well. So once that is in, passata can go in as well. Quite a similar amount. I usually work like equal parts. I like it to be really rich. So equal parts stock, passata, and then a bit of red wine as well. Because it's cooking for such a long time, all the alcohol in the wine is going to cook off. Now that the meat is all seared off, I'm just going to take it off of the chopping board because I want to prep all the veg. So over here, there's just some carrots, celery, onion, garlic, which is like a super simple mirepoix of vegetables that would go in any stock. And you can just chop them up really roughly because, you know, it's going to cook for such a long time that all of the flavor, all of the nutrients are going to come out and they're going to soften up, and then you can just discard them at the end of the cooking. So take your carrots, just like that, and just kind of get them like in halves, maybe take the tops off. Okay, so now that the carrots are done, we can chop our onions. What I like to do with these is actually leave their skin on. Again, it's like a super rough and ready sauce that will get strained at the end of cooking. So leave the skin on and just quarter them. Nothing needs to be chopped finely for this because it's all gonna get penetrated by the sauce and it'll be delicious. Okay, now that's all done. Celery in as well. And the last thing to do is the garlic. So take the whole bulb straight down the middle in half, and then that can go in like that as well. So that's all the veg done. Now what we can do is take the meat that we seared earlier and just pop it on top so it's semi-submerged. Now that everything is in the pan, you'll let it reduce on the heat at a simmer for about 25 minutes to half an hour. And once that's done, whack it into the oven for 2 hours, 2.5 hours. Time to make our fresh pasta. So what I've got here is 125 grams of that 00 flour I was talking about. And we're gonna mix it in with 1 whole egg and 1 egg yolk. So this can go straight in, just like that. And I got a little extra egg yolk in there. And what we can do is just break it up with the fork and slowly incorporate it from the center. So I've created a little well in the flour here, and as you mix it, slowly that flour is going to start to mix with the egg yolk and create a paste, which will eventually turn into the dough that we're going to need later. When I'm making my pasta dough, I actually don't put any salt in it. I usually season my pasta with the pasta water when I'm cooking it, which is plenty of salt. So you don't need to add any at this stage. Just make sure that when you cook it, your water is like really heavily seasoned. Now that the paste has been formed in that bowl, we can take it out onto a floured work surface and start to knead it into a dough. What I would say is you want to knead this until it's nice and smooth the whole way around. So slowly the egg is going to take on all of that flour, and then knead it for, I would say, aggressively 7 to 10 minutes. And what you'll get at the end is this lovely smooth piece of dough the whole way around. So if the dough is a little bit too dry, just like mine is here, wet your hands and start kneading it again. If you pour water onto it, it will immediately become way too wet. Just the moisture of your hands, if you wash them, will be enough to bring all that flour together to make a nice, smooth dough. Now that the dough is nice and consistent the whole way around, this is what you're sort of looking for, like a nice smooth surface. That can get popped into the fridge in some cling film and rest for an hour. So now the dough's been rested for an hour, all of the gluten that was agitated when we were kneading it has had the time to relax, and it's gonna become a lot easier to work with the rolling pin and in the machine. So this is the dough that's rested. Just gonna flour it a little bit and just start to roll it out at first with a rolling pin, and once it's thin enough, we can start to put it through the machine to form the tagliatelle. So I've rolled it out a little bit just so it's thin enough to go into the machine. It's nicely floured. You don't want to add too much, otherwise the pasta will start to become really dry, and you still want it to be a little bit moist. So I'm going to cut it in half so it's going to fit in this machine, and then start rolling it out. So to start off with, you're going to go on the lowest setting on the pasta machine. And just make sure you're supporting it from underneath. When it's nicely floured, it won't stick to the machine, so it's always important just to keep a little bit of flour on that pasta, because if it sticks, it will tear, and then you'll have to start again. What I like to do is put it through each layer twice, just to make sure it's nice and consistent, and you haven't got any pockets of air or impurities inside the dough. So I'll just roll it through each layer twice, and we're gonna go right up until the penultimate layer on the machine, so the second to last one. Okay, so this is the second to last layer on the pasta machine. You don't want to roll it too thin. Typically, if I were to go to the last layer, that's when I'd be doing filled pastas like ravioli or tortelli. It's better to have a thinner sheet of pasta when it's filled, because the star of the show is typically what's inside the pasta. But because this is tagliatelle, to make it a little bit more al dente and have a bit more texture, you just want to go to the second to last layer, not the whole way. All right, so now that it's been rolled out, I'm going to cut it to length. Great. So now that it's been cut to the right length, we can roll it through our machine. And that is it. Some perfect, fresh tagliatelle. We can pop that into the fridge for now while we get our beef back out of the oven. And once it's all ready and picked down, we can cook it and make a delicious sauce to go with it. With 125 grams of flour, you're looking at 2 portions of pasta. Now that the pasta has been cut, we can take our beef out of the oven that's been in there for 2.5 hours, spoon some sauce out that we can use later, and just pick that beef apart so that we've got a nice sauce to work with when we cook the pasta. This is what it should look like. At the end, as you can see, everything has been cooked together. If you look at the color of the onions, the color of the carrots, the garlic, they've all cooked together to create this like lovely sauce. Just take this beef and just pop it over on the board here, and we'll pick that apart in a second. Perfect. And then we'll grab a bit of that sauce as well. And that should be enough. So what you're looking for with this beef, because it's been cooking for such a long time, all of the collagen has broken down into gelatin. Everything's super soft, everything's falling apart. And you can see with your hands, look, all of that's just gonna fall off of itself. And we're gonna pick this down now into super small pieces so that we can mix it through our pasta when we cook later. Cool, so the pasta has been cut, the beef has been picked, we've got our sauce, so now it's time to just bring everything together in the final steps. So first thing that's gonna happen is our pasta is gonna go into our water. Super important to get that water boiling first and salted. A nice like half handful of salt. The pasta's gonna take all of that on, and it's gonna become seasoned instead of it being bland the whole way through. So, a nice handful can go in. Now that's gonna take a couple of minutes to cook. While that's in here, we can drop our sauce into here just to start warming it up. Just like that. And we can drop our beef in as well, and just get the heat through that so it's nice and hot when we serve it later. When I made the sauce earlier, I already seasoned the meat and I seasoned the sauce with salt, but I'm just gonna add a little touch of black pepper in there as well, just for like a bit of heat. And I'll never time fresh pasta. It's usually so quick that I have like a pair of tweezers or a fork next to me, and when I think that it's coming up to the right sort of consistency, I'll just dip in and have a little taste. And I'd say that that's ready. Super, super quick. So turn that off. So that's ready. I'm gonna turn it off, bring the heat of this down. I'm just gonna strain the water off, or if you've got a pair of tongs, you can just take the pasta straight out of the pot. So, cool, so the pasta is cooked and in the sauce is seasoned. What we're gonna do just to thicken it up and add a bit more flavor is add some Parmesan and a bit of olive oil. And what that's gonna do is help emulsify that sauce so that we've got like a nice thick coating all the way around the pasta. Nice one. So as you can see in the pan, that oil, the fat from the cheese, the fat from the oil, the fat that was left in the sauce has all come together and emulsified with any water, and it's created like a nice silky thick sauce that's coated the pasta and coated the meat as well. So once we've done that, we're ready to plate up. But this is what you're looking for. I don't really like to waste anything, so like some nice big chunks of meat the whole way around the dish. Get it nice and central. And once that plate is clean, it's finished. And that's it. That's how I would make my braised beef shin ragu.